Hey, that deal you just lost probably could have been prevented with better discovery. So that's right, 2/3 of the time when you hear, hey, we've decided to go in another direction, the real reason is that you really never understood what they needed in the first place. Hey, I'm Kyle from Proposify, and on today's video, I'm going to be sharing some discovery questions and tactics that you can use so that your deals close themselves. Here's a story I see play out consistently. A salesperson had a great first call with a prospect. Prospect seems enthusiastic. The rep immediately jumps into demo mode, walks through all the amazing features of the product or service, sends a proposal, and then crickets. No response. The deal dies quietly because the rep solved a problem the customer didn't actually have. Meanwhile, top performers spend 43% more time in discovery than the average rep. They know something the rest of us don't, which is discovery isn't just a box to check, it's the highest leverage activity in your entire sales process. Let's talk about where most reps go wrong. So the biggest mistake is pitching too early. We're all guilty of this. You hear a hint of a problem you can solve and you just immediately jump to your solution. But the moment you start pitching, you stop learning. That's where you see the buyer's eyes glaze over. Another huge mistake is staying surface level. It's asking, so what are your challenges with your current solution? You might get a partial answer, but rarely the complete picture. Many reps focus entirely on just business problems while ignoring the personal impact of the buyer, right? How is this affecting them on a personal level? So remember, people make decisions emotionally and then justify them logically. And then finally, too many sales reps treat discovery just like an interrogation. They run through a rigid checklist instead of having a genuine conversation driven by curiosity. So here's what makes great discovery. It starts with a problem-centric mindset. Instead of thinking about your solution, become obsessed with fully understanding their situation. So what you need to do is you need to explore multiple levels: the business impact, the departmental changes, personal consequences of the problem. A problem that affects the buyer's personal success and career advancement will always carry more urgency than one that doesn't. The best discovery reveals the cost of inaction. So what happens if they do nothing? This creates the urgency that prevents deals from stalling because people tend to just default to doing nothing, and you really need to call out, what happens if you just ignore this problem? And crucially, effective discovery maps the internal buying process. So who else is involved? What does consensus building look like in your organization? What are the unstated political factors that could kill this deal? So here's an example of how good discovery sounds. So let me contrast poor versus effective discovery. So a poor one might be, hey, what challenges are you having with your current situation? Followed by immediate pitching at the first mention of a problem. Whereas effective discovery goes deeper. So you might say, you mentioned reporting is cumbersome. Can you walk me through what your current reporting process looks like today? And then how much time is that taking your team each week? What business decisions get delayed because of these reporting challenges? And finally, how does that impact your ability to meet your department goals this quarter? What challenge is going on in your business that's driving this to be a priority? That's a really great question to ask. Here's another one. Have you tried to solve this in the past? So what makes now the right time to solve this problem? Do you see the difference here? So one scratches the surface and the other reveals the full iceberg below the waterline. And that's really what is going to make people buy, is having that sense of urgency and being able to look at how this sort of smaller problem really affects the big picture. There's two critical skills for discovery. There's genuine curiosity and active listening. Curiosity means being truly interested in understanding their world, not just listening for buying signals. The moment a prospect senses that you're just waiting for your chance to jump in and pitch, trust evaporates. And then active listening involves techniques like mirroring their exact words or paraphrasing to confirm that you understand, summarizing what you've heard before moving on. More importantly, learn to embrace silence. When you ask a challenging question, resist the urge to fill the quiet. These uncomfortable pauses often lead to the most valuable insights. So whenever you're starting a new call, especially a discovery call, start by setting clear expectations. This is called the upfront contract, or the UFC. So this is something like, hey, my goal today is to thoroughly understand your situation before discussing potential solutions. And I'm going to be asking a lot of questions just to make sure that we're a fit. If it sounds like we're aligned, we'll move forward. If we're not, we'll just part ways as friends. Does that sound fair to you? And then you can also say hey, are you still good for the next 30 minutes? So whenever you front load your meeting with these questions to set the agenda, set the expectations, this is what's called the upfront contract, and it's gonna help set the tone for your discovery call. You'll wanna use a simple discovery document to guide your conversation without just becoming a prisoner to it. So the best discovery feels like a natural conversation, not an interrogation, not just a bant list of questions. Do you have budget? Do you have authority? What's the timing? It really is just trying to peel back the onion. Remember that sales discovery doesn't end after the first call. It continues throughout the entire sales cycle. Every interaction is an opportunity to learn something new. So integrate discovery questions into your demos or into even sort of later closing stages, closing calls when you're really discussing the logistics. So you can say things like, hey, based on what you shared about your reporting challenges, this particular feature seems relevant. Would you agree? Or when you have new calls, perhaps with a new stakeholder, don't assume anything. So maybe you're meeting with a new stakeholder a little bit later in the sales cycle, and they might say something that really contradicts what your champion said. You want to call that out and say like, hey, Mark had told me on our first call that proposals were a big bottleneck, but you're saying that they're pretty quick to create. Help me understand that. And then what you do is you create a feedback loop by reviewing your won and lost deals, specifically for discovery insights. So what did you miss? What questions should you have asked? The companies with the highest win rates treat discovery as an ongoing process, not a one-time event. They know that understanding evolves, priorities shift, new stakeholders enter the picture. So stay curious through the entire journey. Start your next prospect conversation with this mindset, and I guarantee you'll see immediate improvements in your deal quality and your conversion rates. Because when you truly understand what matters to your customers, selling becomes less about persuasion and more about helping connect them to a solution that solves their real problem. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit like and leave a comment below, letting me know what discovery questions you use, and we'll see you next time. Hey, if you or your team send out business proposals on a regular basis, be sure to check out our product, Proposify.com. It's really gonna help streamline your workflows, automate things, connect with your CRM, and get analytics on how your prospects are interacting with your proposals. Be sure to check out the product at Proposify.com and sign up for a free trial or book a demo with our sales team.